Welcome to Two Dudes, One Piece, where we are two dudes and we read One Piece. My name's Brandon.
My name's Davis, and I just want to say, I feel like Oda leveled up the art a lot in this volume. Even though it was
See,
only one volume, I think it was like a lot better.
yeah, well, and I think the art was good in the first volume. I think I even mentioned that like for someone whose first real like manga was this manga, that the art did look pretty good, pretty crispy. But there were some really I like that scene where Luffy was like punching down and his arm was just ripped.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, so we're paying attention. Or the like 7 pages that were just super shaded for whatever reason.
Yeah, like specifically the page where Moji or whatever his name was on the lion, and that lion just looked like elite.
Yeah, well, and I also really like too. I took specific notice of this panel, but the first panel where you see Buggy, I keep wanting to say Bugsy, but Buggy, and his face is like mostly covered in black, like silhouetted. I thought
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. I don't know. I just thought it was cool.
Yeah, that was sick. But it's really impressive because in the first volume, like you said, it was good, and we mentioned that, but also there were definitely some mess ups, and there wasn't as much attention to detail. And it's just impressive how much he leveled up between
Yeah,
volumes. Like normally, it takes a long time for that level of change.
yeah. I mean, I won't say I don't think it was that crazy of a change. I just think it looked a little more consistent.
Yeah,
I would also say I know I praised the first volume for I praised the first volume for having I totally just lost my train of thought. Yeah, no, it's gone. It's out of there. Or something I praised the first vol. I remember. It's for the clarity. Remember how I said that like you can really tell what's going on in each frame?
yeah,
Like you don't get confused between panels, like who's where, what's doing what, who hit who. I saw a little more of that in this volume. I feel like where there were a couple panels where I was like, "Wait, what exactly happened?" Like
yeah.
someone would get hit, and I'm like, "Where did they get hit? How did they get hit?" Like I can't really tell fully what's happening. It wasn't a lot, but there were definitely a couple panels where I was like, "Oh,
I feel that, and especially when it came to the like buggy ball panels. Most of those
mm-hmm."
panels, you were like, "What happened?"
Yeah, you kind of saw it, and you were like, "Wait, what did?" Because then he was like, "He hit that house that Zolo was in," and I was like, "What? He hit a house? I don't know."
Oh, I just thought he. I don't know. I know he shot the cannon. That's about it. Like,
Yeah, I know he said release the buggy ball.
yeah.
But overall,
No,
I thought it was good. I like that they're I the pacing still feels a little too fast for me, but I also appreciate that they're immediately just like, let's jump into this. Like you're in volume 2 and you're already in like boss fight.
yeah, exactly. I mentioned last time that I was really hoping that Buggy was a devil fruit user and that we got to more devil fruits. Um, and I'm really glad that he was one because that made the fight a lot more interesting.
Yeah, I think I'll be a lot more okay with the pacing being as breakneck as it is right now if it slows down a little bit, which I know is, 100 something volumes it has to slow down. Like there's no way he goes through 100 volumes and it's just go go go. Um But yeah, it just feels like, in volume 1, we meet our main character, we get our first crew member, we set out. In volume 2, we're already fighting a boss, meeting the second crew member, meeting this town of people, learning the lore about this city. It's like I feel like a lot of times you would kind of do the this volume would probably be meeting Nami, meeting the people, or maybe not meeting the people, maybe they still come in later. But like figuring out what happened to this island and then the introduction to Buggy himself. Whereas this one was just like, you're going to have to fight Buggy. And then, like, the next page is, you're in a cage and you're fighting Buggy. You're like, oh, okay, this is just going. Like, there's. So I don't know totally how I feel about it because there's kind of some ups and downs. I like that he's not drawing it out. He's not making us take 30 volumes to get to the meat. But also, when there's only meat, sometimes I like a little potato. Sometimes it's good to have a little chill in there, too. So it's going a little crazy. I will say there were a couple. I know everyone always praises the show on its comedy. Um, I'll do this pro and con at the same time. There were a couple parts that were kind of funny. I forgot exactly what it was, but I know there was one specific part where I like laughed out loud. Not like super hard, but I gave it that like
Yeah,
like all right, yeah, I see that. But also for that one joke that kind of made me laugh out loud, there was some other stuff where I was like, okay, that was stupid.
yeah.
I was
I
just
feel
like,
that.
what was that joke? Why was it there? Or was that supposed to be a joke?
Yeah, some of the things are kind of unclear whether they're supposed to be serious or funny. Um, yeah, sometimes they're funny. Like, I'm trying really hard to remember the funny parts right now, and I literally read it yesterday. I don't know why I'm struggling on this so much. Uh, but yeah, I totally agree with you there, where it's like there was definitely some humor here, some humor, some goofs, some gaffes,
It feels
that
like to
a lot
me
of it
the
missed.
parts that were funny that like I couldn't tell if they were supposed to be funny. It kind of felt like humor for like 5-year-olds. Like
Yeah,
I don't know if that comes across to you too, but it was just kind of like, oh, this would be funny if I was like a child. Where it's
I
like,
think
oh, something kind of a little goofy silly that wouldn't normally happen happened, but it wasn't like set up punchline, oh that makes sense, oh that diverts expectations. Like when Luffy was like, "Oh, you got to take off that weird hat." And he was like, "This is my hair." It's like, "Okay." I'm sure that was supposed to be a joke that like, "Oh, we thought it was a hat." But it was his hair because it was kind of set up that way. But it just wasn't. It just didn't click. It wasn't like, oh, that was so funny. It's like if I was 5, I'd be like, oh, ha, 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 that's his hair. He thought it was a hat.
I think at the time that One Piece was being created, Shonen was very tailored towards children, and I think he's trying to really lean into that so that One Piece, could continue
Yeah, and I
and
mean
be
it still
popular.
is catered towards children. I think the thing is that a lot of shonen grew up as it went on, and that's what I'm trying to give One Piece the benefit of the doubt of as well. It's like
Yeah,
Naruto. I mean, it's a little more serious. You do have like death in the first episode. I haven't
but
read
then
the
there's
manga,
there's
but
also the
within the first
fucking
episode, there's death. But there's also a lot of goofy moments. But think about like how Naruto started and how it's just pretty goofy to begin with, and then by the end of it, it's like super serious. This great ninja war. Everyone's taking, losing their lives, doing a bunch of stuff. So I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt too, that it's like we're still pretty early into it, and he could still just be in his like, oh, I'm goofy, I'm learning what it takes to be a pirate phase, and that as we go on, it will become a little more intense, a little more serious. So I'm trying not to hold that against it too hard, but it definitely feels a little like, all right, we get it. You're a funny guy, Luffy. Okay,
yeah. But then on the other hand, there's Zolo, who's raw as hell. He like the
that
scene
is
where he
true.
made his wound deeper and was like, "Yeah, if I can't defeat you with a
Yes,
wound
Solo
this
goes hard
minor,
as
like
fuck.
I'm not even worth like living." Like, it's like, okay, Zolo, damn, I see you.
Yeah,
You
he went
you
kind of crazy.
yeah, he didn't gain that reputation for nothing. And so honestly,
Yeah.
that makes me excited, like really excited to see a lot more of Zolo's fights. Cause I mean, Luffy's fights are super cool, and I like seeing the things that he does with his fruit, like the Gum Gum Balloon. That was neat. That's a cool use of his power. But I think just the raw energy exuded from Zolo. I'm very excited to see a lot more of that.
Yeah, Zolo's got aura. Luffy's just got goof juice.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, Zolo's
exactly.
super cool. Even like I like that he just needs to sleep when he's like morally wounded. And I wonder if there's ever any explanation for that or if he's just that crazy. Like he's just that tough. Or he's just like he like gets nearly killed, he's bleeding out and he's like, "Oh, don't worry. If I just take a quick nap, I'll stop bleeding out. I don't need bandages."
Yeah, it takes a 5 minute power nap. I'm ready to go. Let me
Yeah,
cut
like after
myself.
after he beats the circus guy. Yeah, and then he like it's the middle of this boss fight with Buggy. He just lays down and he's like, "All right." Like I think this part was pretty funny to me. He gets in this serious fight, beats the circus guy, the second mate, and then he just lays down and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna take a nap. You got this, Luffy." I was like, "Dude, you're still on the ground in front of the fight. Like you're gonna get shot or something."
Yeah.
You didn't even
Like,
walk away to do that.
fuck you mean you're gonna take a nap?
Yeah, now's really the time to catch some Z's, my guy. Like maybe at least walk off the battlefield.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that reminds me of the panel where he's like, "I'm sick," or "I'm tired of this." I'm tired of your tricks." In that panel of just like his face being angry, that was a nice panel. I really liked that panel.
yeah, I think it's funny that when he puts on his bandana, I know he's supposed to look super hard when he puts his bandana on, but I think it looks kind of goofy because he doesn't have eyebrows.
I was gonna say he puts it too low. It's
Yeah, he puts it. If it was like an inch higher on his face, I think it would look a lot cooler.
yeah.
But that's what I appreciates about him, that he just does what he wants.
He lives by his code. He lives to regret nothing.
Yeah, and his code is bandana low.
Yeah. And hey, we know from Dragon Ball if you lose your eyebrows, you're more powerful. See Super Saiyan 3.
Apparently, yeah. Zolo's just going Super Saiyan right now. Let him do his thing.
Yeah,
He
Super
actually
Sword 3.
loses hair.
So he puts on the bandana, he's embarrassed.
Yeah, he goes bald.
Yeah, he goes Saitama on it.
He turns into Three Sword Man.
Yeah. Uh, I think I liked Nami. I think her switching over to being on their side also kind of happened a little fast, but not as fast as Zolo. Like it made a little more sense in my mind than like Zolo switching over. Because she's not like, oh yes, I will become a pirate. Yes, Captain. She's like, well, we're just teaming up for now. I'm definitely
It's
gonna be doing
also
dust later, but
Yeah, Luffy also really has the Naruto effect where he just like people just surround him and like him for him, which I totally get too cuz I think the big thing that really changed Nami's mind on joining them was when he protected the dog. Which, by the way, that dog is the goat. Dude, the second I saw his design, I was like, this dog's going to be my man. And,
that he
yeah,
was.
he was. I loved his design. I loved his, like, little tiny story they had about him. I think the dog was probably the best part of the volume. That was my
Yeah.
absolute favorite part. Um, but yeah, when he helped the dog after his thing burned down, he brought him a little piece of the food, like the last thing that was left, and she was like, "Oh, he's not a bad pirate. He's just a good guy." It's a little like Naruto when he's fighting his bad guys, and they're like, "Oh, he's just like me, but he cares about people."
What?
And I get that a lot of these, like I'm seeing the trend at least now. I guess we'll see when it comes to his other crew members. But the trend now is somebody who hates pirates or doesn't like pirates or doesn't want to be a pirate and then is like, but I'll be a pirate for this guy. And I hope that changes up a little bit, which I hope it doesn't and does change. I would like to see a little bit of creative writing on it. Because I would want to see it change where it's not all the same thing. Oh, I don't want to be a pirate, but Luffy ain't so bad. Yeah, I'll join your crew. Because
Yeah.
I don't know, it just seems like the same, a little too formulaic. But I also like the idea that his crew is different from other pirate crews in the fact that they're not pirates, just like switching between a crew or something like that. And second, that they're all like good people on their own merit and they're joining this crew because the crew is different. So I don't want him to find a bunch of, drunken swashbuckling pirates that are all just kind of pieces of shit to
I think
join his crew, but at the same time, I don't want to follow this trend of I'm not a pirate. I'll never be a pirate. I hate pirates. Oh, but Luffy's cool. All right, I'm a pirate now. Like, I feel like that would get a little boring.
I think one thing that I would like to see that would could be like really cool and have some really interesting character moments is at least have one just scurvy dog, just absolute swashbuckling peg-legged pirate join his crew and just be like not that great of a person, but over time being around these other great people that Luffy has amassed in his crew, becoming a better person through them. Like I feel like that could be really cool.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being cool because then you get to the same point but in a different way. Like that's kind of what I want. I want to get to the same point of them being like good pirates, but just not all in the exact same way. Because Zolo is like, I hate pirates. Pirates bad. I hunt pirates. And then Nami was like, I hate pirates. Pirates bad. I steal from pirates. It's like then what's the next guy gonna be like? Oh, I hate pirates. Pirates bad. I sleep in their beds and run away.
I
And then
Goldilocks
Luffy's
pirates.
like, yeah, I Goldilocks pirates. Like, I just don't want to see it be that exact formula the whole time, which I think might be a complaint of the overall series. Is it's not bad, but it finds one like writing, you know, way that works. Like, oh, okay, this guy don't like pirates. Now he like pirates. Now he crew. And
Yeah,
that's how it goes, which I can be a little frustrated on because I feel like natural stories kind of flow a little more. It doesn't feel super like episodic. It's more, like in Naruto, it's things happen for a while, there's stories, they go on some missions. Yeah, going on the missions might be a little episodic, but then, Sasuke leaves. And then there's the whole thing with Sasuke, and then there's, or before that, there's Chunin exams, and then Sasuke leaves, and then they gotta find Sasuke, and that just it naturally leads into the story happening. So, like, the next thing builds off of the next. And I just don't want to see this become like okay, this is cool, but I've seen Luffy come to a random island and fight some random guy for, because somebody says, this store is my treasure for the eighth time. Like, I don't want that
yeah.
to become a super common thing, and I just from the trend feel like it might. I mean, again, we're only on volume 2, but I hope that doesn't happen.
It's twice in a row is a scary statistic here.
Twice in a row within the first 2 volumes. Not twice in a row within like 6 or 7. Twice in a row instantly.
Yeah, yeah. It's
But I also give it the benefit of the doubt because it's like, it's only the first 2 volumes.
yeah. Hell, we haven't even defeated Buggy yet. We're
Yeah,
still
we haven't
mid
even
Buggy
gotten
fight.
off this
Like,
first island yet. Um,
yeah. I think though he's not being very creative with the crew, I think so far he's being pretty creative with the devil fruits. Because the two that we've seen have been like totally unique and really cool. Like I'm really digging Buggy's fruit. The is it the slice fruit?
chop chop fruit.
Chop chop. That's right. And I think just his ability to be able to like cut off body parts and move them around independently is super cool. And I can see you doing a lot with that if you're creative, but also kind of being lame with it if you're not creative. Like so far, Buggy's really only used his hands to chase people with knives. It's kind of cool, but I could see him doing a lot more with that fruit.
Yeah, I do think that plot wise, I could be a little swayed that I wouldn't care as much as long as the characters keep being interesting. Like, even if it's like, okay, we found a new island, oh, okay, there's a guy to fight. Okay, we fight this guy because we should and because he a bad guy. But if they keep doing really interesting things with like the powers and the characters, at that point I'm okay to say it's just a little more of a character driven story. But I think right now the characters are kind of two dimensional, which is I think why it's kind of failing on both ends at that point. Where it's again Zolo, like, I don't like pirates. Oh, this guy ain't so bad. So now I'm friends with him because I want to be sword guy.
Yeah,
And then Nami's like, I don't like pirates, but this guy ain't so bad. So I'll be with him because I want to go to the Grand Line.
yeah,
And so it's like, if that's what the character arcs are and the way they do characters and stuff, I won't also be okay with it being kind of formulaic. If your characters are basic, have a good story. If your story is basic, have good characters. And if you have both, then golden. That shit's awesome. So I hope I hope I see an up in at least one of those two things. Either the story becomes less formulaic and stuff really starts going down, or I want to see the characters get a little more in depth and have a little more substance to them.
yeah, for sure. You know, I was just thinking about this. You know how Bugsy can make his separated parts like fly,
Mm-hmm.
and devil fruit users can't swim.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the water. Can he just chop himself in half and fly?
Or like send one of his arms up to grab something and then just have the rest of his body like go to that arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably could. That's probably a pretty goated fruit for that reason.
Yeah. In
Like he
theory,
can't
even
swim,
with
but it probably
outside the
doesn't really
water,
matter.
yeah, he could just fly generally. Like,
Yeah, yeah, he kind of gets to pass on that. I'm happy we've seen another Gum Gum user already. I do think
you
that's
mean
good.
devil
It
fruit?
almost feels a little rushed though. I wonder. I'm hoping that after we see this one, we don't see the next one for a little bit. Like I'm just hoping it's an introduction to like, hey, look, there are other people like Luffy out there that are also strong and unique. You will see them eventually. Um and not just like okay, every volume there's a new Gum Gum user, because then it would kind of get boring and played out. I think where it's like, okay, I thought this was like a rare, super strong power, and apparently everyone's got one of these things.
So I could see that going a couple of ways. I think just the fact that our main character is a devil fruit user makes it kind of hard to fight normal people. Like, it doesn't really matter who you are. Bullets don't hit this guy. The buggy ball doesn't hurt this
Yeah,
guy.
but that's
Like,
why
you
they
kind of
made
need
them
to be a devil
dumb.
fruit user. Damn, you right.
That's why they were able to just lock him in cages and shit.
Yeah. But I think also that they could kind of do it like stands where it's like devil fruits attract devil fruits.
Yeah,
Or
that's
do,
true. I
if
guess
they
I
if they
guess in
needed
something
to
like
explain
JoJo,
it.
you never get tired of it. But I know that the devil fruits in general are rare, so it's like across 100 volumes, how many devil fruits can there be?
Yeah.
You
But
know,
to
if
be
we go
fair,
through 75 devil fruits over the course of 100 volumes, it's like, okay, these things aren't rare. Like, you just walk out into the forest and stumble upon one.
yeah, I will say though, to be fair, if we're talking about JoJo, the same thing happens in JoJo. Like in part 3, they come across a stand user every day, if not multiple stand users a day, and it's like, oh damn, I thought stands were supposed to be rare. But then you think about it, and there's like 8 billion people, so 500 people who are attracted to each other, all coming across each other all the time, isn't all that far fetched.
True, but I will say in JoJo, at least there's a plot device for why they're all chasing them down. There's a reason that all of these stand users are purposely trying to find this other stand user. I think you could debate that in maybe part 4
Yeah,
and
you could debate
in
that.
maybe part 6 too. But part 6 kind of has its own thing with the arrow, so it kind of creates a bunch of stand users out of nowhere. Um, but with part 3, it's kind of like, okay, so we have Dio sending, like, finding all of these stand users over, years and years, and then sending them all after the Joe stars. So they're all looking for him. Whereas Luffy just went to a random island and just stumbled upon a Gum Gum fruit guy. Like, if he just keeps stumbling upon them, it's like, okay, how are there so many of them in, like, a condensed area that you're just happening to find these guys? I think it would be cool to see somebody who's just that powerful.
Yeah, like a navy officer that can contend with them.
Yeah, or I think like just a pirate. Like just imagine a really strong pirate, just this really big burly pirate, big old beard. He's got a cannon for an arm or something, and he's just so immeasurably powerful that he can stand up to Gum Gum users and people like that, or people that have unique. Zolo can probably stand up to a Gum Gum user just because he's that good of a swordsman. Um, and so I think it would also be interesting to see more people like that, and not just Gum Gum user after Gum Gum user, which I still don't even know if that's going to be a thing. But I just hope it doesn't shoot in that direction too hard. I wouldn't mind seeing it commonly, like somewhat commonly, because I think it's fun and creative and kind of keeps the story interesting. But I think it would also be interesting to throw some people in there that aren't Gum Gum users but are just strong in their own sense for whatever reason it is.
Yeah, it's along with that. I think it'd be really cool if they expanded more on like devil fruits in general, and less the user, but more like what the hell a devil fruit even is.
Yeah, where does it come from? Where did it go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Fruit?
Yeah, yeah. No, something that I think is really interesting that they started in this volume is showing that pirates can also be bad. Like they're not glorifying either side. When it comes to the Navy, there are bad people and good people. When it comes to pirates, there are bad people like Buggy and good people like Luffy. And it shows that like within this world there are bad people and good people everywhere, and you can't really judge them based on their occupation or who you judge them based off of who they are and not based off of what they do.
Yeah, I do like that. Well, and to kind of play off of that, I know especially in this volume there was a lot of emphasis on what everybody's personal treasure is to them. He was like, "This store is this dog's treasure. This island is my treasure." Um, and it definitely felt a little like, okay, we get it. Everybody's got their treasure to them. And I hope it doesn't go into like a power friendship thing where by the end of the series Luffy's like, well, my treasure is my crew, we don't need the One Piece, I already
No,
have my treasure. I hope it doesn't lean into that direction too hard. um I hope it's just kind of a setup for a general idea that everybody has their own thing they care about,
I
because it's kind
think
of how it's going right now. Like Zolo had his thing he cares about, being a great swordsman. Nami has her thing she cares about, getting back at the pirates that destroyed her village. The mayor has his thing. Luffy has his thing of wanting to be the pirate king, and to him it's his hat that's like his treasure for him. So I hope it plays into it, but just not too hard. Like I don't want it to bring it. Like I don't want it to ruin the story itself. I just want it to be an addition to the story.
yeah, I think that was mainly a setup in this volume, specifically for Nami to see that Luffy was a good person because originally he mentioned that the hat was his treasure, and she was like, no, like, no, it's not. You that can't be your treasure. You're a pirate. Pirate treasure is gold and stuff, and that's not a treasure. But then she saw like more and more people say that their treasures were things that were
Mm,
important to them and things that were good to them, and she's like, oh, maybe to this guy, gold isn't treasure. He's just like the rest of us. Like something personal can be this pirate's treasure as well, meaning that he's a good pirate. And I think that's
yeah,
why it
I
was so
can.
emphasized was specifically for Nami's point of view to change on Luffy over the volume.
Yeah, I can totally see, because I kind of took the treasure thing as being a lesson towards like Luffy or the story, but I can see where maybe it was a lesson towards Nami to be like, not everybody's just in it for the money like you are. All right.
Yeah, hell, she's in it for the money more than he is.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, and another thing I want to touch on, because I said it last time, and I'm gonna say it again because they mentioned it. Buggy said how Luffy looks like Shanks.
Yep.
Those
hmm
dudes are related somehow.
They've got to be. At
They
least
have to
cousins.
be.
At
They
least
they
cousins.
yeah, they looked like each other, which like I said, I'm not getting tricked again, okay? After when I was younger and I thought that Minato was not Naruto's dad even though they look the exact same, I'm not doing it again, all right? Shanks and Luffy are the same character, but Shanks has a little more scruff on his face. They got to be related. And then Buggy mentioning this guy reminds me just like that pirate Shanks. It's like, okay, they're related. There's something there. There is a reason they're like brothers, or I feel like that maybe be a little too close. Maybe it's like a cousin or like a half brother or something, but there's something there. There's no way they look the exact same. Which, I mean, you can make the argument that like Zolo kind of looks like him too when he puts on the bandana. Like they have the same like face shape, same eyes. Basic manga shonen stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but
But that's
like
not like
I don't know,
Goku
Zolo
and
just looks
everybody
different.
else. It's Goku and everybody else. Like they have the same facial features and everything, but they don't look the same really. And then there's Goku and Bardock, and it's like, yes, you are the same character.
Or Goku and Goten.
Yeah, exactly. No. Okay.
Yeah, that's how I
Uh,
feel about Luffy. I'm like, okay, you guys are wearing the same hat, you got the same hair, you got the same face, you got the same smile, you got the same eyes. Like it's a 1-to-1 recreation, except for Shanks kind of has a shitty beard.
Luffy is actually the kid of Shanks and that bartender.
That would be wild.
Trust. And
The
neither of them
fact that
wanted to
he
say
had been
anything because
living
they
in that
both
island
bitches.
and neither one of them said anything his
Yeah.
entire life. That'd be a betrayal. I'd be so pissed if I found out that the bartender I'd been going to cook me food and whatever for the past 19 years or 17 years or whatever was actually my mom,
And she just didn't say anything just cuz.
I'd be so mad.
No, it's real. But I mean, knowing anime, like, there's a chance.
Yeah, but I am really excited to see where it keeps going. I want to see how this fight with Buggy ends. Um, just, I mean, it seems pretty wild. And like you said, I feel like, I mean, he has the Buggy balls, which have been kind of interesting, but I don't think he's fully shown off his power yet.
Yeah.
He's just kind of been like, here's a knife. Here's me choking you. Oh, you cut me? No, I didn't. You're like, I didn't get chopped up. Um, like he could easily make like a knife tornado or something
Yeah,
and just like
or
spin around all of his parts around you and slowly enclose you or something like that.
yeah, he could split up into like 50 parts and just hurl himself at you over and over again. Like, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot he could do with his devil fruit, the chop chop fruit, that it feels like he's just playing around with everybody because he doesn't think that they're powerful enough to actually do anything to him.
Yeah, and I like Luffy's gum gum fruit, and I know they will. So this isn't even really a complaint. It's just an I'm excited for. But I am really excited to see how he keeps learning how to use his fruit power of Rubber Man. Um, because he just seems like he's not doing much with it yet. Like the balloon thing was cool, but like man, that's what I would do day one if I was able to stretch. I'd get real big.
Yeah.
One of the parts that made me laugh, yeah, when Mochi came back and he's like, "Beware the man, the rub man," and then everybody's like, "What's a rub man? Why is he rubbing things?"
Oh, the masseuse technique.
Yeah,
It must
I thought
be.
that was pretty good. He's gonna kill us with his back massages.
Yeah, that was solid. It's I hope that they keep up humor like that in kind of like fizzle out the child humor a little bit because that was hilarious.
Yeah, I also did like Luffy getting a little serious when it came to the dog thing. It just dropping the whole childish goofy act for a second to be able to fight the lion guy and you know I don't know, just be serious for even a moment was kind of nice. I don't need him to be a super serious character at all. Goku is not the most serious of characters. Naruto is not the most serious of characters, and I love them. But it was nice to see that he can get serious because a lot of times, even during fight, like they start fighting and Goku jokes around and he's like, "All right, time to lock in," and then he does. And Naruto, I feel like most of the time their fights are kind of a little more serious from the get go. But Luffy was like he'd be fighting somebody, and I get it too. If your power was I can't die because I'm made of rubber, I also probably wouldn't take fights too seriously. But
Yeah.
it was nice to see that sometimes he can lock in a little bit and take things a little more, for what they are instead of just being like, oh, shoot me with the ball. I don't care. I can't die.
Yeah, well, it was also I like he locked in a little when Buggy shot his hand at Zolo to try and like kill him when they were fighting the acrobatic dude, and Luffy like stepped on his hand and was like, "Hey, you're not getting involved in this fight, bud. Like, this one's
Yeah, that was
between
pretty
them."
cool. He pulled the Luffy pose that like I don't even know how to explain with his fucking leg in like an L all stomped out.
Yeah, yeah, but
Yep. Well, I picked up the next two books.
sweet,
Um so I got up until what is that, 9 now. So set up for a little bit here.
sweet.
Very very excited to see where the next volumes go, but I think that's all my thoughts on it. It was overall pretty good. I feel like I complained a little more in this volume than the last one. Um and it's less of a complaining. I actually really enjoy the volume and more of just I'm seeing some trends I hope don't continue or at least start to mature with the audience a little bit and not just stay totally the same the whole time. I think it's totally fine for early stuff. I'm just being a little critical and trying to keep my eye out. There's I'm coming into this as somebody who hates One Piece.
Yeah, it's
So it's like I see things that I'm like, I don't really know if I would want to read something that just keeps doing that. But I want to like it, and I do think there are things to like. So I think there's also some good, and I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt while I'm getting through this early material. That like it's still early. It's his first manga. It is, it's one of those things where I feel like you could get into as a kid and then love as an adult as you grow up. So I'm kind of trying to keep in mind that like it should mature and get better as it goes, and maybe the first arc or two just aren't that crazy.
yeah, it's honestly, I've liked the first two volumes a lot more than I thought I would have. They were thoroughly enjoyable reads. I'm like after reading volume 1, I was excited to get into volume 2, and after that I'm excited to get into volume 3. Like I honestly might read volume 3 sooner than I would like to for the podcast just cuz I'm excited to read it, which is again not something that I thought I'd ever say about One Piece. But I think there's a lot of good so far. And like you said, there are also definitely some trends, which I wish don't continue. But I am excited to read Volume 3. Definitely.
Yeah, I'll,
Like,
I'll
I'm
still
ready
say
to crack into it.
I'm definitely on the positive upslope.
Yeah.
It's like I still want to read the next one. I'm excited to see what happens next. It's more of a fear of what will happen in the future. Like I could see myself 20, 30 volumes in being like, "Okay, I'm tired of seeing this same thing happen over and over again. Come on, let's move on." But at least for now as it stands, it's like, "Okay, yeah, there's some stuff here and there, but overall it's still an interesting story. We're still just building the crew. Still just kind of figuring out what it means to be a pirate. The action's good. I like the action of Buggy. I like that they just jumped right into it. I really enjoy that it's just fun. I want it to be serious, but just not too serious. I don't need another Berserk. I'm looking for a Dragon Ball type of
Yeah.
experience where it's like, okay, this is real, but not too intense. And I think we'll get into that with Buggy. Like nothing too crazy's happened yet. Like even Zolo getting stabbed wasn't taken as like a massive thing. So I think this next fight is going to be a little more like, all right, I'm guessing this fight will end in the next volume. So it's like somebody's going to die or somebody's going to get put in jail or defeated at least. And I doubt it's Luffy. I bet it's Buggy. It'd be really weird. I think if the main character lost this instantly, might be kind of
Yeah.
unique and interesting though. But yeah, I am excited for that. I like the action. The couple comedy things that do hit pretty good. So I'm excited to get into the next one. All things considered, I'm just trying to point out
Yeah.
things that I think. One of my bigger complaints of it is that One Piece is like way too long and takes way too long to get into, and that's why it's like, yeah, the first stuff might be good, but what happens when I'm 30 volumes in? So I'm just trying to keep in mind what trends I'm seeing and hoping that they don't keep going that way.
Yeah, for sure. It's I also think reading the manga is helping a lot because I just looked it up. How long did Volume 2 take you to read? Like 30 minutes? 40 minutes?
Yeah, something like that. Average
Yeah,
volume time, maybe even a
vo-
little less.
Volume 2 covers 16 episodes in the anime.
Yeah,
That's like multiple hours of content that was read in like 30 minutes. I
yeah.
have
On
no
average,
idea
it's
how you
like
can
two
span that.
episodes per volume or something, or somewhere around there, like 2 or 3 episodes.
For One Piece or for normal
Just in
shows?
general, just
Yeah,
anime adapt or manga adapted anime, just in general is like 2 or 3 episodes a volume, depending on how big the volume is and whatnot. But
yeah.
yeah, 16 episodes for one volume, especially with what we saw happen. Like, no, you don't need 16 episodes for that.
I can't even imagine how they could have spent 16 episodes on this one arc. Or not even arc, volume. Like,
Yeah, I know. I think yeah, that's one of the reasons I wanted to get into reading it and not watching it, because reading it by volume 50, we're gonna be the equivalent of what, like 300-400 episodes in or something like that, and you can read 50 volumes way quicker than you can watch 500 episodes or 200 or even 100 episodes. I guarantee I could read 50 volumes before somebody could watch 100 episodes.
yeah. Just because reading's faster. And there's
Yeah.
not, like, I feel like in manga, they try and cut out a lot of not filler, but just like stuff that's not really all that important to the story they're trying to tell. Where in anime, they don't mind kind of expanding on stuff, sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse.
Making somebody walk up to the fight for 5 minutes.
Yeah, like that stuff is kind of goof. Or like like my guess is that they spent an entire episode on that dog's backstory, which really isn't needed. I feel like what we got
Yeah,
was good.
they probably focused on that lion fight, and that, like, the lion fight was pretty quick. He was like, "I'm attack things," and the dog fought him for a little bit, and then Luffy was like, "Nah," and just pile drive the lion, and that was it. I could definitely see them drawing that out into like half to a full episode of anime.
Yeah, It- but then sometimes it's really nice. Like sometimes you get a Kakashi's inside story. I'm like, oh shit, like that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, I think that concludes all my thoughts on Volume 2. You got anything else to add before we wrap it up?
No, I think I've said everything I wanted to say.
Cool. Well, we'll call it good, and excited to read the next volume and jump back on next week and share some thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely going to crack into volume 3 pretty quick here.
All right. Sounds good. Well, we'll wrap this up. See you.
Peace.